Okay, now I'm back into part 8. I'm not going to go over how I do it. This is just Lively's own statements now, her own statements in her rule 56.1. So there are no responses. We may see responses in the reply to Lively's opposition to their motion for summary judgment. I've already seen at this point that Fritz has filed the reply to the Able conditional summary judgment motion against Jonesworks. The reply to Lively has not been filed at the time that I am recording this. I will do both. I forgot that there was a Jonesworks one as well, so I will do both replies tomorrow in their own video. Okay, we are how many pages now? 187 into 259. So we're making progress. This is I'm kind of getting through this now a bit quicker because one, it's just a statement. There's no reply to read, but also quite a bit of it is redacted. Not all of it. Still worth going through. If you haven't seen the other parts, definitely check them out. Part 6 is Van Zandt. Part 7 was flipping hilarious because Lively has declared that she I can't even say it. She has a positive reputation in Hollywood, and that is what secured her the role of Lily Bloom. Honestly, my eyes nearly fell out my head reading that. I had to double take, and then I had to, get the laughter out before we could continue. And I'm still laughing now thinking about it. Very, very amusing in many ways. But we've had a lot of ridiculous stuff. We've had a lot of rage-inducing statements as well, which just seem shitty or out of context. Really infuriating. A lot of this was redacted. It does not need to be, because in the main motion it accompanies, it is not redacted. I'm able to say, well, yeah, they're talking about this because I've read it. I read the motions. I read the opposition. So I don't know why she redacts everything. Someone needs to take the Sharpie off her. Right, okay, so we're at this section now. Subheading, Baldoni adds explicit and gratuitous sexual content to the film. Okay, so it's redacted. There's an A, B, and C subsections. A, in one addition to the script, Lively was to redacted. B, in another addition to the script, Lively would redacted. C, in another scene added to the script, redacted. Next, Lively told Baldoni directly that she was uncomfortable with the additions, sharing that she redacted. Next, Baldoni told Lively that redacted. He also shared that redacted. The next one is redacted. And then next, on April 30th, 2023, Hoover had shared with Baldoni her view that redacted and that she redacted. Baldoni makes disturbing personal disclosures about redacted. During an April 2023 car ride from New York to New Jersey with Lively, her longtime driver and security detail, and her assistant during phase 1, Baldoni divulged to Lively that this is about the consent thing. We know about this. It's mischaracterized. He was actually saying, he was recanting a story where a woman had not sought his consent and had kind of overstepped his personal boundaries, and she has twisted this into he confessed that he does not always ask for consent. Right, okay. I mean, they've got her security detail. They were deposed, or someone was anyway. So, be interesting to see what they have to say about that. After making that disclosure, Baldoni warned, "This stays in this car." Well, and sadly for him, it ended up in the CRD, which ended up in the New York Times. Lively's redacted. Lively security detail testified about this incident in detail. And then it's redacted. Baldoni also discussed his redacted, a topic that had no connection to the film's material. Lively attempted to shut down the redacted. Baldoni said to multiple cast and crew that redacted. Baldoni pressured Lively to perform unscripted nudity. Lively's ALA provided her with redacted, and typically redacted. The terms of the ALA provided Lively would, among other things, A. redacted and redacted, B. redacted, C. redacted, D is missing and they jump to E, which is redacted. F, the ALA authorized, it ends with us, movie to terminate at redacted. And provided that it ends with us, movie is Lively's redacted. SAG maintains certain guidelines for scenes involving nudity, simulated sex, hyper-exposure, and other forms of intimacy designed to prevent harassment on sets. Those guidelines require actor consent for scenes involving intimacy or nudity or depiction of nudity in advance of filming. I'll just say, right, I don't know if everyone else feels the same, right? If you know you're going to film a scene where you know your character is going to be portrayed as giving birth in full throes of labor, baby crowning and coming out, and you know that these guidelines, and they're guidelines, not mandatory rules, you know that these guidelines exist and you want to apply to them, then why did you not raise that before performing the scene well in advance? Because you would have known about the scene in advance. And is it really nudity? Like, I've never known another actress have an issue with portraying her character giving birth, claiming that it is simulated nudity. And I said this in one of the other videos, I think yesterday. The audience are not stupid. They are going to watch, a scene where a woman is giving birth and be well aware that although she's not really nude, she is, the character is not, I don't know how to word it. The character is not expected to be giving birth with wearing a pair of, her underwear, her trousers. She's going to be undressed from the waist down. Women are when they give birth. That is completely natural. I just don't see it as simulated nudity as in the kind of erotic sense, which is what I think that guideline is more geared to, not a completely natural function. Oh my God, right. I don't know. I don't know what SAG-AFTRA mean by that. I just don't think that they no man finds that, sexy. No man has actually watched a woman, when she is pushing a baby, physically pushing a baby out of her body, no man that I know anyway, or want to know, and found that erotic. So this whole it was depiction of nudity, it was simulated nudity. Her character was giving birth, and if she's not up to the job, she should not have done it. Okay, she should have she had the script. She was controlling the script and rewriting the script. Why didn't she change the script to, Ryle and Lily adopt a baby or use a surrogate? If she couldn't cope with, acting a birth scene, it's just insane. Okay, I feel better. Right. Those guidelines require actor consent for scenes involving intimacy or nudity or depiction of nudity in advance of filming. The film's script included a scene in which Lively's character gives birth. The script did not call for the simulation of nudity in that scene. What? You weren't nude. And something's redacted. Profile nudity. Okay, the birth scene was filmed on May 22nd, 2023. That day, Baldoni informed Lively that it was redacted. He insisted that Lively redacted. The birth scene was filmed over several hours and shot using different framing and angles, including ones that showed redacted. To obtain those shots, Lively wore redacted. At other times, Lively redacted. During filming, Lively redacted. Wayfarer did not redacted. Closed set protocols are standard protections are designed to ensure actors' comfort during particularly exposing scenes and to ensure safe, harassment-free work environments on productions. Sarowitz was on set the day of the birth scene. The day of the birth scene. Not the birth scene itself, because the birth scene was already shot when he arrived later on in the day. See how the wording's now changed? When asked whether he redacted, well, that's redacted. After the birth scene is shot, Heath shows Lively a video of his nude wife without explanation or consent. On May 23rd, 2023, the day after filming the birth scene, Heath redacted. Lively redacted. Lively was disturbed and unsettled that Heath would show her the video at work. Heath insists he showed Lively only and redacted. And then the rest is redacted. Baldoni improvised physical touching and intimacy scenes without Lively's consent. Okay, she wants to open up this can of worms. On May 23rd, 2023, Lively and Baldoni shot a dance scene. The script stated that their characters would be redacted and did not call for any kissing or simulated intimacy. They didn't kiss. Baldoni did not redacted. Baldoni improvised during that scene by redacted. Video footage shows Lively leaning away from Baldoni and repeatedly suggesting that their characters should just talk. Lively used redacted. On January 14th, 2024, Baldoni's longtime publicist, Jen Abel, described the dance scene so gross and cringy, speculating that it led Lively to file a cease and desist, while also stating that she could not stand Baldoni, who was pompous and unlikable. I mean, you're just working to get those statements in, aren't you? Just to remind everyone. The text message where Jen Abel described something as so gross and cringy, there is nothing there to say that it was the dancing. Just making that clear. The text does not say that the slow dance scene was what she was describing as so gross and cringy. And she could have been talking about Lively, maybe, talking about Baldoni having his nose surgically reduced in size. I don't know. In another instance, redacted. During phase 1, Lively and others repeatedly report concerns about Baldoni and Heath, which Wayfarer failed to investigate. So, Lively and others voiced their discomfort directly and privately to Baldoni, Heath, and others, often in real time or shortly thereafter. When confronted, Baldoni would redacted. On May 29th, 2023, Lively redacted. Lively described Baldoni's reaction as redacted. Slate and Lively discussed how Baldoni's conduct and his response when confronted was redacted. On May 24th, 2023, Lively texted redacted. That same day, redacted. On June 4th, 2023, redacted. In that same message, redacted. Also on June 4th, 2024, redacted. I will come back and do videos when all this is unredacted on just specifically on the parts that were redacted at this point. So it sounds daft that I'm going over it anyway, but I am, because it helps me. And sometimes it gives you a hint of what's under there, or I just know what's under there anyway, because like I say, a lot of this stuff was not actually redacted in her opposition filing, so some of it is nonsensical why it's redacted here. Early during production, within the first week or two, Giannetti and Sachs informed Baldoni that redacted. On May 26, 2023, Lively had a 45-minute conversation with redacted. Lively shared with Giannetti her concerns, redacted. After Lively told Giannetti that redacted, Lively took notes, contemporaneous notes of her conversation with Giannetti. On May 27th, 2023, redacted. The next one is redacted. Giannetti had redacted. Baldoni redacted. On May 29th, 2023, redacted shared her concerns with Sachs. In a text to Giannetti that same day, Sachs noted that Slate's concerns were very bad and stated, "I think we need to replace our director, and Heath should not be on set." Sachs went on to share that redacted really would prefer never to see Heath again. I don't know why they redacted her name at the start and then towards the end of that, but in the middle they confirm it's Slate. And we know it's Slate from the deposition transcripts. That same day, Sachs notified Baldoni and Heath of redacted's Jenny Slate's concerns and encouraged them to investigate because she wanted the behaviour to be taken seriously and to help create a more comfortable work environment for everyone going forward. Sachs understood that Heath didn't want the behaviour written down, documented anywhere in the event that someone wanted to talk about it again in the future, and that he did not want Wayfarer to conduct an investigation into concerns about his and Baldoni's behaviour because he didn't want a written record of it anywhere. Sarowitz redacted. When Baldoni and Heath shared, redacted. Michael Robbins, I don't know what that is, an expert on harassment, discrimination, and other employment matters, opined, redacted. Okay, so that might be one of her experts. Wayfarer will have an expert to, kind of rebut testimony from any of Lively's experts. On June 1st, 2023, Lively attended an in-person meeting with redacted, although Lively redacted. After the meeting, Sachs texted Giannetti redacted. Neither Baldoni nor Heath redacted. Baldoni saw redacted. Baldoni redacted. On June 15th, 2024, Giannetti texted Sachs, observing that redacted. Jesus Christ, come on. Sachs responded, "It's only when Jamie, this isn't fair nonsense and revisionist history comes up that I'm like, come on, guys," by which she referred to Heath and Baldoni's response that we didn't do anything wrong as opposed to remembering what happened. Sachs further texted, "I think this is where the narcissism is dangerous," and further observed that it's when Baldoni and Heath have a way of making women and some men, so it's not about gender. So it's not about gender. feel like shit. It is deep because they sign the checks. On October 13th, 2023, Lively texted, redacted. Okay. Right. Before phase 2, Lively negotiates protections that Wayfarer agrees are reasonable and again reports her concerns. Okay. On November 9th, 2023, Lively, through her attorneys located in California, sent Wayfarer a document entitled Protections for Return to Production, the CRA. Letter requested Wayfarer agree to implement 17 protections to ensure a safe set going forward. I'm not going to read all of them because we have read that to death and back. Wayfarers redacted. Mezian confirmed that Wayfarer agreed to all but one of the proposed conditions immediately, including the prohibition against retaliation. Heath redacted. On November 10th, 2023, Baldoni and Heath sent the CRA to their PR team, at that time Jones and Abel. Write in, need you both for a Zoom. On October 12th, 2023, Baldoni texted his redacted. On January 4th, 2024, one day before filming, redacted. So this is going to be the meeting, the all-hands meeting. Why have they redacted it? The next part is redacted. On January 4th, 2024, before that meeting, redacted. Wayfarer or It Ends With Us movie did not investigate Lively's concerns about Baldoni or Heath's conduct raised during the January 4th meeting. The rest is redacted. Heath believed Lively's concerns were redacted. Yes, they are. Okay. Okay. So the next section is Sony exercises its right to edit its own version of the film and supports Lively's help in doing so, which Wayfarer fought at every turn. Okay, this should be interesting. It'll also be heavily redacted, but we'll see. During contract negotiations, Sony rejected Baldoni's attempt to secure redacted. The distribution agreement provided Sony the right to redacted. In or around August 2023, Lively redacted. That editing concerned Lively redacted. With Sony's support. So basically, she went to Sony and said something. She had to have said something, leverage something, but she's framing it as, well, Sony had the right to do this, and I was just trying to help. With Sony's support redacted, so that's clearly something that's carefully worded, but in effect, Lively, with Sony's support, Lively took over the film. Lively did not receive extra pay or a promise of a producer credit for her work on the edit. Lively worked closely with Hoover. Redacted. I bet you did. Baldoni did not. Redacted. After production, Baldoni and Heath returned to California where they reside. Wayfarer attempted to. Redacted. Baldoni redacted. Mr. Greenstein for the redacted. Hoover redacted. In June 2024, an audience screened Sony's cut at Book Bonanza, an annual charity event Hoover hosted for the book fans. Lively stole the cut. She admitted it. I don't know why she's reframing this. She admitted it. But redacted. Okay. After Sony's cut was screened at Book Bonanza, both Sony and Wayfarer redacted. Sony and Wayfarer developed a plan to market the film as a story of female empowerment which Lively and the cast follow and support. In January 2023, before the film had even started shooting, redacted. Among the redacted, Sony's objective was therefore redacted. I bet it was. Redacted, Wayfarer in turn redacted. Sony redacted. Jesus Christ. In the lead up to the premiere of the film, Baldoni, like Lively and other cast members, redacted. The Wayfarer defendants undertook a pattern of disparaging and discrediting Lively. Baldoni told Nathan that redacted. Nathan agreed, writing redacted. On November 12, 2023, Baldoni described redacted. On December 30th, 2023, Baldoni told Greenberg that Lively was redacted. Baldoni expressed redacted. On February 9th, 2024, shooting of It Ends With Us concluded. Wayfarer defendants amended complaint. On February 23rd, 2024, Baldoni described redacted. Sony was responsible for creating the trailers for the film. On April 27th, 2024, Baldoni sent a string of text messages to Heath describing redacted. Baldoni wrote to Heath that redacted. Baldoni stated redacted. I don't know why she is redacting all of this. Baldoni set out a plan to redacted. Later that day, Baldoni texted Heath about his redacted. He described feeling redacted. Baldoni stated that the redacted in him has redacted. What am I reading? On May 6, 2024, Sony redacted. Baldoni appeared at the event and passed out floral bouquets to fans. On May 6, 2024, Baldoni and Heath redacted. During dinner, Baldoni and Heath told Hoover about their issues with Lively and the editing process, and in particular told Hoover redacted. Baldoni told Hoover that redacted. Baldoni alleged that Lively redacted. Baldoni and Heath told Hoover redacted. The behavior described included redacted. Heath explained that redacted. Hoover understood that Heath redacted. Hoover believed redacted. Hoover redacted. Hoover was redacted and redacted. As of May 6th, Hoover redacted. Alex Sachs testified that she believed redacted. In June 2024, 19 of the film's department heads, producers, and creatives drafted letters detailing Lively's significant contributions to the film in support of Lively obtaining a PGA producer's mark, including, and they're all redacted. On June 18th, 2024, Wayfarer agreed to give Lively a producer credit on the film, but Wayfarer remarked that Lively would not be getting the PGA mark as that is not applicable. On June 20th, 2024, Baldoni and Heath were requested through Sony to write a letter in support of Lively receiving a PGA mark for her contributions to the film. So she got Sony to strong-arm them. On June 26, 2024, Baldoni and Heath wrote a letter in support of Lively receiving a PGA mark to the PGA. On June 27, 2024, Heath emailed Wayfarer personnel describing Lively's request for a letter in support of receiving the PGA mark as unreasonable and cold-hearted. Essentially, the movie It Ends With Us has been taken unjustly from Justin as a director and essentially from Wayfarer's control due to the extortion of Blake. She continues to hold a threat over our heads, and every time we try and hold a line, She uses that threat either directly or indirectly to get us to fold. And that is what the evidence is showing. The Wayfarer defendants hired crisis experts to bury Miss Lively by discrediting her claims and assassinating her character. The Wayfarer defendants planned to go on the offensive against Lively from the outset. On May 6, 2020, Wayfarer hired Jonesworks as its redacted. Why is it redacted? I don't understand. Since around July 2020, Jennifer Abel has served as the PR representative overseeing the Baldoni and Wayfarer account. Matthew Mitchell also supported the Wayfarer account with Abel. Both Abel and Mitchell are based in Los Angeles. Okay. On May 17th, 2024, Baldoni texted Abel and Matthew Mitchell that he expected Lively redacted. Baldoni told Abel and Mitchell redacted. Baldoni texted Abel and Matthew Mitchell with continued concern, redacted. He continued, redacted. On June 15th, 2024, Lively, Hoover, and other cast probably unfollowed Baldoni. On June 17th, 2024, Abel and Baldoni redacted. Abel relayed Baldoni's request to Jones, stating, redacted, after Jones suggested that Wayfarer use redacted. Mitz Toskovich is Wayfarer's Vice President of Operations. On June 17th, Heath told Toskovich, redacted. Heath requested that redacted. On July 30th, 2024, redacted. The timeline had a jab entitled Zingers, focused on themes for attacking Lively's reputation. Baldoni and Wayfarer coordinate to conceal that cast and creatives do not want to appear with Baldoni or Heath at premiere. Around the time of the film's premiere, Greenstein was made aware of a redacted. On June 15th, 2024, Sachs told Black and Giannetti that redacted. And then something else is redacted. On July 14th, 2024, Hoover wrote to Giannetti and Greenstein, redacted. On June 4th, 2023, redacted. In that same message, redacted, also on June 4th, 2024, redacted. Then redacted and Sklenar, redacted. I don't know if Brandon Sklenar has been deposed, I haven't seen so far any deposition transcript excerpts for him. Redacted. And then redacted again. Sachs did not want to attend the premiere. On June 20th, 2024, Abel expressed concern to Sony, redacted. Abel, Baldoni, Heath, and Baldoni's PR team, redacted. Then it's redacted. Another possible excuse floated for Baldoni's absence from promotional content and cast tension was Baldoni's neurodivergence. Baldoni wrote redacted, and he is diagnosed with ADHD. That is public information. On July 16, 2024, Sony reported that the films redacted, in particular, redacted, while some redacted. Greenstein was responsible, redacted. On June 17, 2024, Greenstein redacted. Greenstein recalled that redacted. On July 22nd, 2024, Baldoni texted Greenberg that they needed to redacted. On or about July 22nd, 2024, Lively told Sony that she would not appear in press with Baldoni. Lively did not want to appear alongside Baldoni due to her grave concerns about how he treated women in connection with the film, how he disparaged her to others as retaliation for her speaking up, and Heath and Baldoni's inappropriate and uncomfortable behaviour in connection with the film. Baldoni and Wayfarer hired a California-based crisis PR team to bury Lively. Jennifer Abel was the vice president of Jones Works at the time until she created and started working at RWA Communications, a public relations firm, on September 1st, 2024. On July 24th, 2024, Abel emailed Heath and Greenberg requesting that redacted. In that same email, Abel stated redacted. Also on or around July 24th, 2024, Tara Hanks, the president of Wayfarer, asked Jones redacted. Melissa Nathan is the founder and CEO of the agency group PR. Jones redacted, Abel redacted. Catherine Case was the vice president of TAG until late December 2024 or early January. On July 25th, 2024, Nathan and Case met with Heath and Hanks for an introductory call during which Wayfarer provided details regarding on-set redacted that were the subject of Lively's and others' complaints, as well as the protections for return to production. Case's notes from that meeting state the following, and there's a bunch of stuff redacted. After the call, Wayfarer redacted. Abel and TAG planned to get ahead of the narrative. On July 31st, 2024, Abel texted Heath and Toskovich, informing them redacted. Abel added that her friend redacted. Okay, I am going to, there is only 40 pages left, and we're obviously getting through this very quickly. I think I'm going to kind of clip it here and then do one more video just to wrap this up. Okay, so stay tuned for part 9, the finale.